On our last morning in the tiny wooden cabin in Glenmore, we woke to a new chill in the air. We checked out and strolled to the beach for a last look at the rippling, reflected mountains in the loch. Through the clouds we saw that the higher slopes that had been dark the day before were dusted in fresh snow. I really love snow. It reminds me of my childhood in Germany. So we scrapped our plans for the day and instead drove as high as the car would take us until the road ran out. Then we simply started climbing. The familiar Scotland of green forests, orange moor and blue water vanished as we were enveloped by the clouds. As they swirled around us, the water they held was left as ice on every surface. The grass, our clothes, and even our hair. Climbing up here through the clouds feels like stepping through a portal into the treeless Arctic tundra. You might even come across the Norwegian reindeer that have been introduced here. This pile of ice-encrusted rocks marks the summit of Cairn Gorm. This mountain gives the Cairngorms their name. We had reached only the northern edge of the remote plateau, but still felt like polar explorers. Facing into the wild wind that almost blew us over, I felt so exhilarated by our spontaneous adventure. This weather station has recorded the UK's highest ever winds and also its lowest average temperature over a year. The Cairngorms are less like a cluster of individual separate mountains and much more like one huge rocky bulge rising above 1,300 meters, which has then had its rounded surface split and scored and scooped away by rivers of ice. Snowfall doesn't just decorate this landscape. It made glaciers that shaped this land into a plateau of ancient rocks, over a kilometer high, with mountain peaks and ridges rising even higher. The Cairngorms are the snowiest place in Britain. We pass close to places with names like Cisht Merat and Coma Cisht. These are among the small handful of special places in the UK where patches of snow can survive all year round. Until quite recently, these patches lived for decades or even centuries at a time. I would have loved to visit these almost mythical places and see the fresh snow and ice cover over snow that has survived all the way through from previous years. But the eternal snow patches have all melted away this year, as they have done more and more regularly as the global climate breakdown accelerates. Just 1 week before our climb, the very last remote snow patch in the Cairngorms, called the Sphinx, melted away before these snowfalls could renew it. More like a phoenix than a sphinx, That patch has already died and been reborn 6 times in the years I've been alive. Nowadays, it can't seem to survive past a few years old. This mountainside is one of the UK's few winter sports destinations. We watched a helicopter. I think it's working on a mini mountain railway, Britain's highest, that has cost Scottish people many millions of pounds to take skiers up the mountainside. This investment, and local livelihoods in general, depend on months of reliable snow here every year. We arrived back in the Scottish autumn, and as if rushing from one magical world to another, we drove to the Glenfinnan Viaduct, which the Harry Potter films have made into a major Highlands destination. The magnificent concrete viaduct appears in a scene where Ron and Harry and his owl Hedwig head to Hogwarts in the back of a flying car. Whilst poor Hedwig has to deliver post to wizard school in Scotland, her wild cousins hunt over the Arctic tundra. Those worlds are not as far apart as I thought, because this summer a majestic snowy owl arrived on the Cairn Gorm plateau. Perhaps a wild bird from the Arctic, or maybe Hedwig escaped from being a pet at Hogwarts. Either way, she seems to have settled into this polar habitat hidden in the Highlands. In 1901, when the viaduct opened, there was probably snow on the ground somewhere in the Cairngorms every single day of the year. Those days are gone, but Harry Potter and his friends seem to overcome an existential crisis facing the wizarding world in every single school year. So maybe it's still possible for us to prevent the worst case scenarios of climate breakdown if we really commit to that adventure.